Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as to be expected. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Mario vs Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis for the Nintendo DS. So, yesterday, we have essentially managed to finish up the entire main story mode, and especially noticeable, as you can see on the bottom screen, we actually obtained every single gold stars throughout the majority of the game. In addition to that, we also manage to complete not only Floor 7, which appears to be Jungle Hijinks, but also with the forms of the rooftop, in this case the final level in the game, and we did somehow manage to save Pauline by the end of the day. And as a result, everything else goes all hunky-dory and everything, right? Well, as it turns out, for today, for this video, is going to be the finale in terms of Mario vs Donkey Kong 2, and because of that, today, we're about to be hitting back onto the forms of the main game, because once you complete the game once, as you can see, we're now able to actually access to the basement, in this case DK's hideout. So either way, and as you can tell that, yeah, we've already got every single golden stars, including every single Mario's obtained, and on top of that, we got every single Mini Mario letter cards. In addition to that, the R thing has already been accessed already, but if you do manage to tap in the R letter, which actually allows you to go ahead and get into the forms of the rooftop level straight away. So either way though, I apologize for that tongue twist in the end, folks, but that's just because it's been quite a few hours since I actually experienced this. So either way, as you can see, we now ended up on the basement, and as you can tell, there's only 2 levels, which signifies the forms of how much stars you've obtained. Like, for instance, for example, we've got every single gold stars in the game. This means we do manage to unlock both of those levels at the same time. Like, for instance, in order to actually access to basement level 1, you need to collect about roughly 40 silver stars. And then, as far as I'm aware, in order to actually access to basement level 2, is that you need to obtain 40 gold stars. And once you've done so already, you're able to actually experience some of those small bite-sized levels here and there. And basically in this first one right here is actually a massive throwback to the forms of how it does it in the final level in the arcade Donkey Kong game. And because of that, the main objective in this particular stage is that you need to get rid of all these platforms, as you can see, because much like the forms of in the the final level in Donkey Kong on the arcade game, specifically 100M, that basically is about the fact that once you get rid of all these platforms, then sure enough, Donkey Kong will fall out of it though. So, yeah, it's very similar, except the noticeable difference is this time around though, is that we need to take control of Mini Mario's, and much like the forms of how it does it on, the rooftop level, basically we do have 6 units of health. So because of that, if you run out of those Mini Marios, or potentially if you let all the 6 Mini Marios die, then obviously it's all over and you have to start all over again. So, but I will admit though right away though, this is actually a nice callback, which I almost first thought that back in the day, whenever I first experienced this level, back when I was a kid, for whatever reason, I just have no idea what the heck am I supposed to do. But then as far as what I found out, whenever I do manage to play Donkey Kong on the arcade game, or to be more specifically on the NES version, or heck, even recently we did manage to play the arcade version of Donkey Kong thanks to Donkey Kong 64, basically that allows me to realize that I think I pretty much know what this mechanic is all about. So either way, and much like the forms of in a rooftop level, then basically you do need to avoid a lot of fireballs, as you can tell. And luckily we do have hammers, by the way, so either way though, once you're able to have hammers with you, then you should probably get rid of those enemies no problem. So either way, and there goes Donkey Kong, gets smacked, and that was it. And sometimes you get specific rewards, like for instance, because that was the final card. In this case, it shows us Mario and Donkey Kong are forgiving each other, and that's all there is to it. And it says, "Congratulations, you won" message. So, I guess that's all there is to it, basically. So now let's move on to the true final level in the game, which appears to be Basement Level 2. And basically, it feels kind of similar to the forms of the first Basement level, even though the noticeable difference is this time, rather than just utilize the forms of trying to get rid of those platforms, so instead, the main emphasis on this particular particular stage is that we need to guide the Mini Mario all the way to the very top where the ginormous barrel was located. And you have to do this for about 6 times, and then once you've done so, then you would be able to actually completely done with that particular stage. And as you can tell, similar to the forms of how it does in one of those boss fights, and during the forms of in, let's just say in the Lava Land, basically you do able to actually access this very useful item which appears to be the bubble, and that will actually protect you from certain hazards. Specifically, the flame fireballs, and especially noticeable with this obnoxious springs they're able to pop up every once in a while. Although, unlike the forms of how it does it in the Lava Land Donkey Kong boss fight, basically though is about the fact that it only lasted for about a few seconds. So, as you can see about the fact that unfortunately I've lost one of my Mini Marios, but that's okay, because obviously it doesn't really matter if we're able to actually mess it up at one point. So the ultimate challenge is obviously you need to keep an eye on the majority of those Mini Marios, because otherwise, if we get distracted by the forms of other stuff worth noting for, chances are though about the fact that it is definitely a little bit tricky, but it's nowhere near as hard as the forms of how it does it from the likes of the, you know, the 7th floor Donkey Kong boss fight, at least as far as when, you know what I'm saying with the forms of Jungle Hijinks level, so I guess that pretty much summarizes as such, So yeah, a few things we want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's date is of course the 28th of May today, in this case in 2023 today, so I think relatively speaking, during it at some form or another, not only does this game's Let's Play will be finished by the forms of today, but maybe potentially that could be also applies with Donkey Kong Country Returns, alongside with the forms of Metroid Fusion, so as a result, that as far as other Let's Plays we might consider focusing on next, like during at some point in during the forms of by the end of this month, and potentially speaking with the forms of the beginning of June, well, we have no idea yet, but that's just because we might also stay tuned for that. So, and there goes the last Mini Mario to shove this last push of the barrel, and there goes Donkey Kong got smacked by his own giant barrel. And this is the reward you can get by completing this stage. Gee, that was unexpected. They somehow managed to play a musical concert that not only with Donkey Kong and Mario, but also Pauline was there as well, alongside with the forms of other mini figures here and there as well, ranging between Mini Mario, Mini Toad, and Mini Donkey Kong, and Mini Peach. So speaking of which though, is about the fact that there was also a construction zone, which originally I was expecting to try to show you guys this point next, but obviously I ended up saved that for last, mainly because about the fact I just want to show you guys the options menu first, and then we'll obviously show off the construction zone for last. So obviously with the construction zone, basically you can able to create your very own levels at your leisure, but then again though, we'll discuss on that in a moment. So either way though, as far as everything else we could possibly show you guys for this, is that potentially speaking that once we get into the options menu, as you can tell, basically we're able to actually have all kinds of features around here. Like for instance, there's the audio, which allows you to listen to certain music and sound effects, and there's also the register thing, which obviously you can able to create your own name onto your you know, DS cartridge and stuff like that. Well, mind you about the fact that this game does have a file selection screen, and as well as Miniland Mayhem, although unlike in Mini Smash again, there's only one profile. So it seems kind of unfortunate for that regard, but who cares about that. So either way, as I mentioned this before, you can able to listen to certain all kinds of soundtrack music in during the forms of any audio option, and basically you can also listen to some game over sound effects during that time whenever you do manage to fail certain worlds, assuming of course if you lose all of your Mini Marios. So either way though, something's worth noting for, and you can also adjust the actual music volume and the sound effects volume, and even especially noticeable with the inputs as well between stereo, mono, and even headphones support as well. So I guess that's actually kind of a cool thing in that regard. So either way, but of course about the fact that since we're actually doing quite well, all things considered, with this entire Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 as far as the game itself, then obviously we have no major issues in terms of death situations here and there. So I guess there's not much else right to harm about, I guess. So either way though. Now, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to other features of the options menu you can able to interact with, well, there is also the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection support, which unfortunately though, that it's been shut down. So either way, let's show off the showroom, which basically this allows you to able to rewatch certain cinematic cutscenes if you wanted to, as well as you can able to look upon the gallery again, but this time around though you can able to actually see its full glory when it comes to the forms of not only for the Donkey Kong boss fight, but also after completing the world itself as well. Which I must say though, they look really cool. Even though they'll continue that tradition until Minis March again, alongside with the forms of Miniland Mayhem as well. But not so much by the forms of Tipping Stars though, because Tipping Stars, for some odd reason, does not contain any boss battles at all, which I found kind of baffling in that part. So either way, I suppose that might actually a little bit more up for it, because 2015 has actually considered this to be the dark age of Nintendo stuff, so I guess that probably explains it. So there's also the forms of the credits, which you can able to rewatch every time you like. And there's also this new feature, which appears to be the title option. And as you can see, we have a choice between Mini Mario, Mini Toad, and Mini Peach, and Mini Donkey Kong. And what you can use it with this though, is that... Hold on a second. Oh my god, that's actually a nostalgic throwback to the forms of the original game. So yes, every time when you set your title screen, either in Mini Toad, or Mini Peach, or Mini Donkey Kong, the title screen music is actually a lot different, because it's actually a throwback to the title theme based off from the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy Advance, which I think is actually quite a cool touch to it, even especially noticeable concerning about that particular part where this is a sequel, after all, to one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games that I've ever played. Although, that the unfortunate thing about this is, though, is that you can't able to actually select Mini Donkey Kong, or Mini Peach, or Mini Toad during the course of in the main game. So instead, the only way you can able to select those characters is by going into Special Kit 1, as well as Special Kit 2, and Special Kit 3 on the actual construction zone, and basically this is where you're able to create your very own levels throughout the majority of this entire portion of it, which is roughly about, I would classify for saying, I don't know actually, it's likely or so 9 years before Super Mario Maker was a thing. That basically though is about the fact that you can able to do all sorts of things here and there. Why keep this in mind though is that, as you can tell on the bottom portion of the screen, in the touchscreen on the top right corner, that every time whenever you place certain objects or items, basically though, it actually costs some amount of things, as you can tell from that particular blue bar. So meaning about the fact that unfortunately though, you can't able to actually place in not only 8 mini characters, but also with the forms of other objects even there as well, ranging between coins and etc, because of the forms of the space limitations. So but either way though, I'm sure that, well, this is only just for a test anyway, and once you basically pretty much guaranteed able to done with this entire process, even though I'm not exactly the greatest in terms of trying to make my very own levels, at least I have tried from the likes of Super Mario Maker alongside with Super Mario Maker 2, but every time when I tried those, it just seems kind of feels a bit underperformed in my part. So, and the reason why I'm showing you guys the Mini Toad actually utilizes the forms of the Fire Flower power-up, because, well, I just want to show you guys for that. Even though that was before when Super Mario 3D World was a thing, that basically though, that, oh, and also applies with the forms of the New Super Mario Bros. Games as well, or specifically New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. U, that Toad finally managed able to have the ability to use the Fire Flower, which I think is quite intriguing, concerning about the fact that this game came out in 2006. Or technically speaking, 2007 in the European countries, because as far as I'm aware, in the Japanese version and the North American versions came out in 2006 basically, but it wasn't until we finally got the game until 2007 as far as I've realized. I'm guessing it's probably because it's very similar situation as the forms within Mario Party Island Tour, that the reason why we have to wait for a bit longer because of the European British localization. So at least in terms of names, and you probably name the rest of it. So now, of course, the next thing we'll show off is Mini Peach. So, now as far as I'm aware, that it does manage to contain a different background, as far as you can definitely tell. Like, as far as I'm aware, the background music, as far as Special Kid 1 is concerned, is obviously reused from the likes of the forms of the stage selection screen, during the forms of Mushroom Mayhem. And on top of that, when it comes to Special Kid 2, the theme is obviously based off from the stage selection screen from Peach's Castle, so I guess that makes obvious sense, because either way, we're not going to be taking control of Mini Peach, and let's just see what really happens if you managed able to obtain a Fire Flower power-up with Mini Peach. And that was when before, you know, Super Mario 3D World managed to finally got her power-up for reals for regular Peach. So, seems very cool, all things considered. Now, I'm very appreciative about the fact that this game actually introduces 3 new minifigures, like, that continues that tradition. Until specifically Miniland Mayhem, that it actually introduces Pauline, and as far as I'm aware, in Tipping Stars introduces Mini Luigi, and as far as I'm aware, in the later installments to come, likely also for Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge, my god, there's a lot of Mario cast in journey forms within the actual mini forms, which I'm sure enough I'll talk more details onto those if we get to those games, assuming of course this is actually a very tough situation for, you know, the next Let's Plays to come when it comes to the Mario vs. Donkey Kong franchises as far as this is concerned. Especially it's bad enough that I still don't have myself my 3DS capture device, especially because, well, you know what I'm saying, that it's actually pretty hard to get those things right now, but I'm just saying about the fact that I'm just a little bit puzzled about this, so. And of course, the last thing I want to show you guys in terms of the forms of this construction zone, that is of course the Donkey Kong environment, or specifically, Special Kid 3. So, yeah, that's what I can say about the forms of the extra stuff of how this game offers us to, because honestly guys, I think I should probably just want to move on to the next game in terms of the Let's Play department, which is especially noticeable that summer is actually getting very close during that time, and look at that, there's Mini Donkey Kong, specifically Mini Fire Donkey Kong, which that was before when the Super Mario Bros. Movie did manage to able to finally give Donkey Kong his opportunity to able to use one of his power-ups, specifically the Fire Flower. Spoiler alert for those who have not seen the film yet, although most of you already know by this point, especially because of that trailers in mind. So, yeah, we'll give that level one more attempt, and because of that, though, I just want to show you guys of what really happens if you do manage to able to mess up with the actual chain. So look at that, we got Mini Fire Donkey Kong, so yeah, how awesome is that? So that was like, I would say, 17 years before the Mario movie exists, that, you know, Donkey Kong finally uses the Fire Flower power-up. So, pretty awesome, and, you know, wicked at the same time. So, yeah, that's what happens if you manage to fail that particular bonus chain reaction, because obviously, you know, the points doesn't add up. So, I guess that's all I can really say about this. And also, when you complete the level, it actually saves your progress. So, anyway, so that pretty much does it for our Let's Play of Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2. Oh, actually, there's one more thing I want to show you guys something, is that if you can't be bothered able to listen to that particular music again, well, you can obviously switch back to Mini Mario as in the title screen, but it shows the exact same music. So, but for now on though, we'll go ahead and end things off with a high note by putting Mini Toad into the title screen and get ourselves the good old classic Mario vs. Donkey Kong title theme, and that's all there is to say. So thank you guys so much for watching of our Let's Play of Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2. It's quite an experience, all things considered, which I think I've already pointed things out since in yesterday's video. So with that said, this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, from the likes of the Mexi Toys. Now, I don't know if we're also able to do Minis March again, or perhaps even maybe other games during that time, but either way though, we'll see what happens during that time. So I'll see you guys soon. See ya, bye.